video?
No, I can hear you perfectly. Let me make you a host too.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Or let me, hold on, let me make you a co-host just in case. And that way we both can man everything. So now you should be a co-host. So that way you can share your screen.
Okay, yes, ma'am. Share screen. Let me see. Right here. Share. Oh, God. Let me put this down. My computer. Okay. All right.
Okay, I can see perfectly.
Okay. Yes, ma'am. Do you happen to see my notes, my presenter notes?
No, just the screen
Okay, good.
and the tabs, but no. Oh wait, it got bigger. Okay, now it's it looks fine.
Okay, yes, ma'am. It looks fine. So you don't see any of my presenter notes, right?
That's correct.
Okay, good. Okay, I would just worry about that because I made sure to sell the only my presentation, but not my notes. Okay.
So we'll start maybe right at 9 o'clock,
Yes, ma'am.
and then whatever you need, I'm here for you.
Okay, thank you so much.
Okay, I guess we'll go ahead and get started. I have 9 o'clock on my computer, so I hope it's accurate. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Literacy Matters Conference. We are so happy to have you all here. Today, we want to welcome Dr. Monica Laus, who is an information literacy specialist at Escamilla. We are so excited for the information she's going to be bringing today. She is going to be presenting a window into diverse text integrating into all content areas. If you heard the speaker this morning, he talked about how we should have mirror books, right? We should have books that show what your students, something that represents each of our students. So Miss Dr. Laus is going to go into some great activities, and we want to welcome you and we want to thank you again for joining us. And I will be putting in the chat box at the end of the session the attendance link. So please make sure you fill out that Google form at the end. Thank you again for being here.
All right. Good morning, attendees. Thank you so much for joining me on this wonderful February morning. I am excited to be here and I'm honored to be presenting for the Auditing ISD Literacy Matter Conference. My name is Dr. Laus and I will be, Laus, I'm okay. I will be presenting a window of device text integrated into our content area based on my experience in the library and when I was younger. So while I'll be primarily focusing on picture books, it must be noted that this information can be used for all grade level, not just primary and elementary. Picture books allow for the students to break down complex topics into easily digestible format. Like think about Click Clack Moon by Doan Korean for government topic when it talks about writing a letter and talk about peaceful congregation, those kind of things. So again, why I will be focusing on picture books. Again, picture book can be used for all grade levels. All right. So again, the session's description talks about design for to find multicultural resources and literature to use for upcoming lessons, whether it be online or face-to-face. So the focus again is reaching special populations such as students who are EL, English learner, or students who are in special education. Okay, so a little bit more about me. I have experience as a special education teacher, instructional technology specialist, and skill specialist at all grade level. I'm currently at a campus with a very high growing bilingual program, including dual language. I'm also currently serving as a social studies campus liaison. I'm presenter at local curriculum council and in course for auditing, and I'm very passionate about promoting diversity in literature and enhancing the school library to be accessible, including having a makerspace to grow creativity. Okay, so these are my talking point. When I present, I like to do a I do, we do, you do type of presentation. And so I will discuss why is it necessary to have diverse literature. We do breaking down a lesson to include diverse text, and you do. So we're going to start by thinking about how to create a lesson to be used for the next unit. Okay. So again, just like in Auditing ISD, if you are an educator in Auditing ISD, you have the curves. What educator would know that integrating diverse topics will help cultivate a learning an environment of acceptance. Educators will also understand that having diverse text is help engage students in the learning process because they can really connect with that experience, and educators will be able to write a lesson or start on writing a lesson if time permits today, or taking the idea that you learned today and apply it to your next unit. Okay, so let's get started. So again, why is it necessary to have diverse literature? So we want to understand why students need to see themselves in the book that they read. So for me, it was difficult to find books that reflects me as an Asian American. And the only book I could remember when I was going to school was Sadako and the Thousand Paper Crane, a novel by Aaron Corner and describing the aftermath of World War II in Japan. But when I became a librarian or in the district information literacy specialist, I knew that it was going to be my goal, promoting and verse text. And then this brought me to one of my first books that I read during my first year as information literacy specialist, Dreamer by Yuli Morales. Okay, so when I read this book, I felt a personal connection to this book because my parents were immigrants, and of course, practicing English was difficult. So I will go to the public library, which is nearby me. So I live by Alding High School, and so we have the Alding Public Library, which is part of the Harris County Public Library system. And so when my students listen to the story by Dreamers by Yuri Morales, they really share their own struggle. As some of them were born here, but they have parents who still learning English, who came apart to the war, and while others immigrate to the United States when they were a young child with their family. So again, I really like Dreamers by Yuri Maras because it speaks to everyone in terms of like again being not being scared, not knowing what to expect, and reaching out to people who can help. Okay, so when we interact with this presentation, I want you to think about your why. Why is it important to include a diverse text in your lesson? Okay, so thinking about not just right now, but even when you go to different sessions throughout the day at the Literacy Matters conference, you want to you can also try to connect the dots. Okay, so we need diverse books because we need books to which children can find themselves, see perfection of themselves. And I think that's why we really children need to see themselves reflected. But books can also be windows. And so when you can look through and see other worlds and match up or don't match up to your own. But the sliding glass door allows you to enter a world as well. So what I'm just read is a quote by Professor Rudine Seam Bishop. She is considered the mother of multicultural children's literature. So again, thinking about your why. Why is it important to include diverse text in your classroom or at your campus? Okay. So this part is a turn and talk. Well, and if we were face to face, but because we are virtual, we are going to put information in the chat. So a little disclaimer, and I know that the information says 2015, 2018. As of right now, I have not seen a updated infographic for 2021 or 2022, but definitely rest assured, I would definitely include it in future presentation. But in any case, I want you to look at these two um, images and see what sticks out to you to most. When I was presenting to other attendees, I really learned more about this infographic that I have not seen or have not noticed. And so I'm excited to learn from you. So what do you think is the difference, or what similarity or difference I should say, regarding these two infographics? And please put it in the chat. I'm going to put a timer to about 2 minutes. Okay, so Justin wrote very slowly, becoming more diverse. Okay, and another attendee, the numbers are increasing because of more diverse. Elizabeth wrote, we need more authors to represent many groups in literacy. Good, I like that. We need more authors to represent many groups in literacy. Yes, we need diverse book. It's a nonprofit organization, and they are trying to offer writing scholarship, and not just it could be, it's not limited to who the stories, but there has been a growing effort, but it is going to be a journey though. So if we start to talk to publishers, talks to authors, and really get them to buy the books, the companies will see, the publisher will see, oh, we need more books based on the background or based on the story of these authors. So let's encourage more writers in our community. All right, timer is up. Let me see. Okay. Yes, we need more diverse book for sure. Diversity books, good. All right, awesome. We need to do a lot more work to include my diverse culture. Love that, Sally. Thank you. Okay, good. Thank you so much for sharing. So as Chris et al. 2016 would say, we as teachers have an obligation to provide literacy image that reflects on the diversity of our students, as well as the diversity of the world. It is noted that it's fundamentally important that those shaping the creation and dissemination of children's book have the knowledge and cultural intuition needed when working with text, as stereotypes or assumptions should not reach the hands of any reader. So this is one of my from my journal articles that I really use to based on my presentation. Is called What is on Our Bookshelf, the Diversity of Children's Literature. It's from the Early Childhood Classroom Library, Journal of Children's Literature issue. Okay. Right. So I'm going to start right here. I want to know, do you have any questions so far regarding the first section?
At this time, there's no questions in the chat.
Okay, all right, thank you. Okay, so I'm going to show you a sample lesson. Oopsie, I'm sorry. My computer does not like to work with me today. Oh, goodness gracious. Give me a second. There you go. All right, before I get started on this section, oh my gosh, you might be wondering, as a classroom teacher, how can you include this in already pre-planned lessons like CKLA or other research-based programs, reading programs? Well, I wanted to share what another attendee in the previous session shared with during the presentation. Diversity books can be added to any lesson as an extension to help students identify with the content since CKLA and other reading program informationally dense according to her experience with it. And so, for example, we talk about in first grade astronomy. So astronomy talk about Earth, Sun, Moon, phases, planet constellation, and the history of NASA. Well, this month is, of course, Black History Month. So we have Katherine Johnson, Mae Jemison. So those two, and it's great also, you don't have to wait for February. You also have Women History Month in March. So those are ways that you can connect it with those books because there have been more and more what I noticed about biography based picture books, and that would help with students connecting. You're still learning about the facts, but in a way that is more engaging to the student, more visually appealing to the students. Okay. Another one, for another example, we have, of course, American Independence. Oh, I'm sorry. Let's look at fifth grade, chemicals matter, physical change, chemical change, matter, elements, and compounds. And so those you can also talk about scientists who have a way of advancing that field, and it goes, there's going to be a biography about that. Okay, we also talk about I Survived. I Survived, you talk about in fourth grade. Let me see, about the geology, earth layers, plate tectonics, earthquakes, tsunamis, volcano, geyser, hot spring, weathering, erosion. Okay, so we think about the I Survive books that talks about history in a way that is historical fiction, but it also feature characters of different backgrounds, okay, of a different experience. Okay, so we're gonna go on to the next question, next part. And again, please be free at any time to put questions in the chat itself. So I, as a teacher, as a librarian, I have full-time rotation. And so when I do lesson from year to year regarding the same topic, I like to mix it up. I like to learn from my previous year and change it for the next year. So this is an example of this. Okay, so again, this is perfect. Again, Black History Month and Women's History Month. Okay, I talked about the objective. I talked about to the students what they're going to learn today, and they're going to talk about the historical contribution African American and women. We're going to talk about the understand the contribution of Mae Jemison, which I just mentioned regarding my discussion of CKLA and different research-based reading language arts program, and of course, turning and talk. So when I talk about this bus book, you always want to do a turn and talk. So let's go back to my example that I did. One of my first book I ever read as a school librarian, Dreamers by Yuri Morales. When my students share with them, in subsequent classes, I have the students turn and talk. And so that will help students learn that from different culture. Plus, what I also like about that, they need to straighten their speaking shit. My students are very social. So I want to take that talent. All my students are very social from year to year. And so I want to take that talent, take that skill set and apply it to an academic type setting. So you always wanted to use that turn and talk feature to the great extent. And in addition to that, as you know, if you are of course in Albany and actually in the state of Texas, you know that we have TELPAS, and TELPAS, one of our areas that we're trying to work on is listening and speaking. And so again, you having that authentic conversation in these lessons while using diverse text to use that as a springboard. I hope that makes sense. If not, definitely put it in the chat and I will definitely answer your question. So I also try to do an I Love Book Challenge. Now I do this in my school library, but you can definitely adapt it to the classroom. Is that you can have books that you know that students will love, but they may not know about it in your classroom library or your school library. So you can do like a little present wrapper. So for the upper, like for the secondary, for middle school and high school, you could also do what's called quote mystery date type of thing. So you can do that depending on your age of your students. You can do like a I Love Book Challenge and mystery book or that. So again, you take books that your students will love, whether it be students about Pedro, which is a popular books by Capstone Publishing about a or you can talk about books that students may want to think about, like again, I Survive. And so you wrap them up, and then the students, what they do is that they pick a book based on a summary of the book. And I really saw from last year, and I'm looking to bring it back this year. Really saw that students really are more open to the books that they have. They love to go to comfort books that they know, but by me doing that, and my I Love Book challenge, they get to explore more and more. Okay. Okay, so I would say learn about today's topic. So I would say to my students, today we will learn about a special person. You will learn about Mae Jemison. We have just finished celebrating Black History Month, and March is Women's History Month. So we are excited to learn about Mae Jemison. Okay, so so what you do is that you can insert a link to a video about Mae Jemison. We have Brain Pop. That will be great. There's also other videos. If the district is not subscribed to Brain Pop, we also have videos on YouTube. But I would just say I will recommend you that you vet it first, look at it, and make sure that it's at just the right size, and in a way also that it covers what you need. Speaking of videos, you can also use books on Storyline Online, which we will get to in just a little bit, that has the authors or other famous people in Hollywood reading a book to them, and it's very animated, and my students will absolutely love that. So I'm gonna talk about Storyline Online in just a few minutes. Okay. So again, I have the video to get them to do that background knowledge. Okay. And speaking of background knowledge, the question of the day is, how do you travel anywhere? Okay. So if I were to do this lesson again in the next 2 3 years, because I try to rotate it, because the way that I teach my lesson is I have first grade, second grade as a similar lesson to each other, and third, fourth, and fifth has similar lesson to each other. So in the next couple of years, if I were to change it up, I will actually have this as a flip grid. Okay, so again, I talk about telepaths. If you have students who are telepaths qualified, you know that students need consistent practice speaking to a microphone. Okay, so again, if you don't have enough microphone, then it's fine. Again, as I mentioned, turn and talk, think, pay, share, that is practicing speaking. So I actually did the latter part in my lesson this year, is that I have students turn and talk based on to the thing, and it's not me having the same people over and over again. So having the students being social, having students be engaged, it helps students connect to my text that I was about to read to them. Okay, so again, this is where I could pair the video with Brain Pop or whatever videos that you find on the internet with a story online video. It's the same theme. So this book, I had a so one of the reasons I don't have it video, because I'm having some technical difficulty for some reason with this with my slides, and so I kind of change it up a bit. And so anyway, but this video that I had, it talks about the authors and illustrators. They actually wrote the book, and they read the book, and it was so beautiful. It talks about space and dreaming, and so it's connected to Mae Jemisin's Space and Dreaming. So when using videos of online videos, uh, please make sure to add the closed captioning. You want to rely on closed captioning in video recording as necessary, so students reinforce their understanding of the English lesson language. And this is how I learned how to grasp the English language, as my home language was not English. And so again, if you find a book that you really like and you don't have it in your classroom library or your school library, you can also use a Storyline Online to help supplement that. So there's different resources to find diverse books, diverse texts. Okay. So again, I have to share the opinions about books. And so again, students, when I finish reading the book, whether it be on a video version or me actually reading the books in my hand, there is a way for me to have them again continue to discuss, continue to share languages, because reading a book if you add the discourse to it, the talking to it, it will definitely help out. Okay. So this is one of the activities. I like to do a hands-on activities. And one of my other one I like to do is artwork. Now, again, so this is a template of what I use for my lesson this year. So for me, it's like the question of the day. So when do you see this photo? What do you think at? So I like to use Google Images because and so I like to use Google Images. I like to use my own images that I take. What do you think at? I notice that students are a lot more engaged because they have something more visual to think about, and that's more critical thinking because it's not you have to think about, oh, wait a minute, it helps. It helps prompt the discussion instead of thinking about have you traveled anywhere. Well, last year I have that, but maybe this year I will have a picture of a plane. And so like, oh, or a car or a place. I'm like, oh, how you travel to this place? Kind of give them that little extra thinking. So when you start to read your book, it kind of connects to the discussion posting. Okay. And also about the authors and illustrator. So you always want to read a bio from the back of the book or on the official illustrator or author's website. And I try to have books from that website. So I have books from, and one of the books I read this year is by Daniel Pena and Christian Robinson. I have their bio, I have their biography. I also read By the Day You Begin by Jacqueline Wilson. I have that. That was my first book I read this year. So there's different ways. And you having the authors and illustrated picture, it helps to reinforce that there are people behind the scenes. And students will see, oh, there's someone that looks like me. I want to, and they can inspire them. So a little bit over a little bit to the side. I wanted to talk about this since we just came from Bookworm Festival. So last week, Alding ISD hosted a bilingual Bookworm Festival where we have about 6 to 7 authors and illustrators came by and did a panel. And I took a group of my students from my campus. They all were from different campus. So one of them was a Wizarding Club. They love fantasies, the Harry Potter universe. The group of students was from art club. I have another group from Name That Book, and I had another group that I felt that it should be Girls Who Code, and so my STEM group. And so all of them, the reason I love this Bookworm Festival because it features so many different things. For example, let's go back to Girls Who Code. It features an author that talks about her combining scientific topics in illustration. Okay, it talks about another art club. It talks about there was one person, he was an art teacher. And all of these people, all of these authors and illustrators came from different backgrounds, and the student really did saw that there are people just like them behind the scenes, and they really enjoy it. And some of them actually got a copy of their own book signed so that they can remember this experience. And so that's what I really like about how there is more and more of an effort to promote these students, to the students about books for diverse topics, about diverse characters. Okay, kind of want to do a little segue. Okay, let's see. Wait, so give me a second. I'm having some technical issues. Okay, and so again, this is again, right? I say The Day You Begin. Again, I read the book, I connected the story, and I have them turn and talk about what they like about the story. And in the book itself, I have stopping points. So when I read books, I always have stopping point. And again, I know some elementary and primary, most elementary and primary are self-contained, but in the upper grade levels, again, in middle school and high school, I know that you have multiple classes of the same subject. And so I'm similar in that perspective. I have multiple classes. I have a day 8 rotation of 800 students. So every time I do this lesson, I change a little bit more and more. And so when I read these books and my students brought up a good point, I make sure to note that in my next reading of the story. Okay. So again, I always try to do a SEL component for diverse. And so SEL, social emotional learning, the book that I read, The Day You Begin, talks about, a student a student who's new to the school and no, actually, I'm sorry, that everybody's new to the school. It's the first day of school, I should say, and they're nervous, so they don't have anybody in connection to, and so as story go by, is the students are just like learning about more about each other. And so again, this was my first activity in the library. And so I had students create a nameplate for first, second grade, and third grade. And in fourth and fifth grade, I have them create a growth mindset, like what do they want to achieve this year. And so those are different types of activities that I do to reinforce the message of these books that diverse. Okay. So I know what I just explained is very information dense, right, regarding my background, my lessons that I do. So I'm going to start by here. I want to know if there's any questions or concerns.
So far, there are no questions in the chat box.
Okay, no, okay, thank you so much. Okay, so when we are researching and planning lessons, we want to review a couple of things. First of all, is the calendar events coming. So we have talked about Hispanic Heritage Month in October, Native American Heritage Month in November, Black History Month, Women's History Month, AAPI, Asian American Pacific Islander Month, etc. in May. And so you compare a nonfiction books with a fiction book. So if I were to do one of my previous lesson again, I would add May Among the Stars. Okay, when I'm going to talk about Mae Jemison last year, I will add again May Among the Stars. You also want to collaborate with your school librarian. TextQuest is a state wide digital resource program that provide access to high quality digital resources to all educators, students, and student immediate family in Texas K-12 public schools. And so those are where, again, you can mix and match. You want to have students have that background knowledge before you read your book. You can definitely have a video information from TextQuest. And annually, the Texas Library Association releases recommended diverse books for all grade levels and adults for librarians across Texas. They also want to check on recommended website, and Mighty Girl will be showcased here. So there's Learning for Justice that has resources for lower upper elementary, and Zen Education Progress has resources for upper elementary to high school. Okay, so I'm going to show you the Mighty Girl website. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen because I'm only sharing one part of my thing. So give me 1 second. I'm going to do a new share. Okay. I'm going to do let's see, this one. Okay. Oh, goodness gracious. Okay. Let me see. My mouse. Okay. Okay. Can you see my screen right now?
Yes, we can see.
Google search?
Yes, Google.
Okay. Yes. All right. Thank you. Okay, so this website I have is the Mighty Girl. I really love it, and because it has a way to search. And so I'm going to go to books. Okay, so they have Mighty Girls, War Model, Women's History. We have biography. It has different general interests. Okay, and again, you have you also have, okay, see right here, they also have banners. So let's going to click on two different things. I'm going to click on the banner first. Okay. Let me just, okay. So this one, I just click on the for Black History Month again. So you have different stories, and these are actually up to date because when I explored this the other day, I didn't see Simone Biles or Catherine Johnson the other year in the past. And so there are always new books that's coming out for to use. Okay, so I really love doing looking at this website. I'm gonna put it in the chat. This right here. Let me see, go right here. Okay, so I can put it in the chat. And again, you can do the recommended age. So again, like I said, picture books is not just picture books is not just for primary, elementary. It can be used for all. And so I'm going to go under elementary recommended age, and you have different what you can do. Okay, also I also love the language portion. Oh, because they also, if you as available, you're going to have books in English and Spanish. Okay, so let me take out one of the recommended age. Oh my goodness gracious. Oh, my mouse. Okay, so let me check another one. Let me do another one so I can show you. Okay, so I'm going to go back to the Mighty Girl website. I'm going to go to biography. Okay, I'm going to go to, I'm going to use my keyboard arrow. I'm going to use my language. Oh my goodness. It's embarrassing for my computer to act like this, but that's fine. So you can see this is English and Spanish that has bilingual books, and so this is a really, I highly, if you're not sure how to connect your lesson to a book about a diverse character or diverse figure, definitely check out A Mighty Girl. And I really love it. And so if you see a book that you really like and you think it's at the school library, definitely check out the school librarian. They will be able to help you find these books. I know most districts around us has what is called interlibrary loans that we can borrow books from different places and have it sent to the campus. So definitely check that out. If not, there's also, of course, Amazon. You can also go to independent bookstore. You can go to Barnes and Noble. But again, these are great way to really find books that really fit your topic. And most of the books out here, I noticed that can fit any topics. Okay, all right. I'm going to switch back to my screen sharing. I'm gonna new share. I'm gonna go back to my presentation. Give me 1 second. Okay. Okay, good. All right. Okay, so my can you see my presentation, Ms. Melissa?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes,
good.
we
Thank you.
do.
All right, thank you. Okay, so again, so going back, so you want to frame into the student experience with warm up and artwork. Okay, and so again, you have maybe at the beginning of the when you have students start coming in, or students are trying to transition into your classroom, you can actually have what's like a station, or you can have students like a prompt. Again, as I mentioned, I had a picture of the day, so you can have a picture of a day, and that's frame it to students experience. Okay, so you may ask, how also can we get books to keep? Well, I actually use Donors Choose, and for me, Donors Choose is a really great resource. Now, some of you, how many of you have heard of Donors Choose? Please put in the chat. How many of you have heard of Donors Choose? And what's your experience with Donors Choose? Because I kind of want to mention that, because that's just one of the ways when I was starting as a school librarian, I needed books for my lesson. But I was in a transitional type of school in a way that it was from going from intermediate 5th to 6th and to elementary. So I didn't have more books for my students to choose from. So I had to use Donors Choose to supplement my lesson and supplement some of the things. And so I want to know, what have you heard of Donors Choose, or what's your experience? And while you are typing in the chat, I wanted to mention that if you had done Donors Choose, which is a way to get donations from community members, not just here in your local area, but nationwide, United States. Uh, that's how you, like, let's say you want a book, so you want pencils, or you want paper, a special paper, or notebooks, etc. You can get donors to help you with that project. And so I was able to get books for my permanent collection. And if you had tried Donors Choose but was unsuccessful, again, try again. The reason I say that because when I was a special education teacher, I was let's just say my assignment changed at the last minute. And so I didn't have a classroom library. So I went to Half Price Books and bought a whole bunch of books for African American biographies. I bought also for books featuring Hispanic characters, so books that reflects my students. And it was just a lot of money. And so I decided to do Donors Choose, but I was unsuccessful. And so years later, when I became a school librarian, my principal asked me, if you want to be a grant coordinator. And I thought to myself, well, if I become a grant coordinator, I have to set a sample for my staff. Uh, and so I tried again, and it worked because I learned lessons of the past, not to go too high, break down project into different things, take about match days. And match days are a great way because nonprofit organization, for example, the Dollar General Foundation has it's a nonprofit organization by Dollar General itself, the store, and so they love to support literacy. And there's also ways to get grants, um, not just from Donors Choose, but there are also ways to there's grants if you know where to look. Again, I mentioned Dollar General because they have a grant for family literacy coming up soon. And so in addition to that, if you are at a Title I district and a Title I school, there's also First Book. That's how some of my students get their own books to choose for their own library at home. So there are different ways to get books and not just having to go to Barnes & Noble or Amazon for your students. Okay, so going back to the lesson idea. So we want to reach out to community members. For example, we World Lao Day and Constitution Day for these special type of events, or even participate in the author's visit. So let me go back to Constitution Day. So Constitution Day, the Houston Bar Association, which is basically a professional organization of lawyers / attorneys, members comes out to the school to read for Law Day. And then in previous years, we had Constitution Day. So spots were limited, but the experience was very valuable. In addition, there are virtual read alouds are recommended and more flexible. If you have a chance to do virtual authors visit, go for it. There are opportunities offered by your local public library, as well as Scholastic for special reading events. They also do authors visits, so for free. Recording me, I think it's usually on YouTube or something like that, but it's really great for the students to participate in. Okay, so you're also connecting to your books that you read. You can also do like something edible, which it means that I had two things. I had like display, I had morning announcement. I also, when I was reading books on books from AAPI authors, I also had students and staff try out treats from Asian in May. Again, Donors Choose is a great resources to help get materials, and many of my Donors Choose project was from my diverse books. Okay. And of course, you also want to talk about social emotional learning books, about books about compassion and understanding. You can also use for younger students, Peter Reynolds Say Something, Suse Vide I Am series. And again, it's great for discussion question, and you can collaborate with your teachers for interdisciplinary unit and get together with your team to see what state standard can be embedded. Okay. Before I go on with my last portion, and we're gonna quickly talk about this because I see that I want to give you some time to ask questions. What kind of questions or comments are put it in the chat? What do you want me to discuss?
You just have some really great comments about how they love the resources you're sharing. and how it's a great way to get things for your classroom for donors. And then Sally also put that her co-teacher was able to get an iPad. Also, I wanted to ask that if you were still on the research and planning lessons slide. I didn't know if you were still on that one slide, or if you
Oh,
were showing the diverse books. I was just wondering.
oh no, I should be right here. Do you see it? The one that says lesson
Oh, there
ideas?
we are. There we are. Yeah, I was
Okay.
wondering. I was like, she usually has really great visuals to go with her talking points. So
Yes, I think my computer just gave up. It just my mouse is acting up. I really need to update. I haven't used this desktop in a while. I was afraid to use the internet connection, so I didn't use my school laptop. It's been crazy day, but yes, 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 I do have visuals, and I actually. Woo, crazy day today. Yeah, so are you able to see the images, right?
yes, now we can see the lesson ideas and images.
Awesome. Okay. So I want to kind of point out before I kind of go on to the lesson, the part of this presentation. I I want to point out the one that has the dragon right in the middle next to a picture of Yui Morales reading one of her recent books. And of course, between my students and listening to a colleague of mine. So in the middle, we have a students reading about Amy Wu and the Patchwork Dragon, and which remind me, I will actually going to talk about it right here. It's just a much better picture. Okay, so so this for me, this is a great example of art and writing being integrated. Again, the book was Amy Wu and the Patchwork Dragon by Kat Zhang and illustrated by Charlene Shaw. It is a great for any unit involving Asian or Asian American history. Again, you want to look at your curriculum guide, okay? You maybe say, oh, not just for language arts, but you can also include it with social studies. So for me, the book is about how Amy, the main character, loved craft time at school. But when my her teacher asked everyone to make their own dragon, Amy felt stuck. Her first dragon has a long, wingless body, stag-like horns, and eagle claws, but her friends don't think it's a real dragon. And then she makes dragon like theirs, but none of them feel quite right. So this is talks about social emotional learning, okay, trying to fit in. Okay, so again, you see these books that I have, you can integrate almost any topic or any concept, I should say. Anyway, none of them feel quite right. None of them felt like hers. After school, a story from grandma sparks new inspiration, and Amy rounds up her family to help her. Together, can they make Amy perfect dragon? So again, as you see, this promotes in a way family tradition, we read the grandmother's story, and uniqueness as well. So again, I use artworks for me because students, especially some students who are English learner and students who are being served under special education program, express best do using artistic means. And because I have students like, yeah, their writing capability is still developing, still growing, and so but they really want to participate in the lesson, so I have this like as the in a way accommodations. Okay, so for this one, I had the students make their own dragon in the backstory, and this was a take-home activity after the teachers read the book. Okay, so the students at home was able to create their dragon, and I love this again. It's a family tradition, and in a way, as you can see, some of them have their family to help them. And they also use materials that they found to have around the house, like feathers and streamers and those little plastic ties that you do for bags. So they were being creative. They were basically, in a way, integrating STEM, science, technology, engineering, art, and mathematics, or STEAM, I should say. And so again, you can fit on any topic of you choosing concept. Um, okay, educators can frame questions to the students character's perspective, whether it be a picture book or a chapter book. And so what's the best thing about materials by creating this lesson is low prep. You want to use materials that students already had at first. I know it can get overwhelming. You know, as educators, even I do it for my school library. I take money from my own pocket and to get the resources I need for my students. Yes, donors choose help. Yes, other grants help. Yes, getting donation from the community members help. It does. But there are sometimes I have to dig into my own pocket, and I know that you have the same way. And so again, you want to use materials that have first because again, it saves you money and it has the students being creative. It does seem overwhelming at first to do lessons involving multi-step, and so you want to start small. Again, of course, you can use my cycle materials. One of my first lesson that I did ever as a school librarian, not just the one that I streamed on UMatters, but for Dot Day, right after that unit, I did have students use old magazine that I was cleaning out the school library, and they created a growth mindset chart collage. Okay. So and I read Ish by Peter Winners. Okay. So let's see, I'm gonna go back. All right. So do we have any comments or questions so far? My mouse is
Yes, some
acting up now.
wonderful questions talking about how they love the artwork and also love using family projects. And I just want to let you know it's 9:50 and just letting you know the time, and I put the Google form in the chat box.
Perfect. Thank you so much. And that's perfect. That leads to my reflection. And so, yes, please, as soon, first off, sign in the attendance link on the Google form. And another thing is that I want you to please share in the chat that you took from this presentation with the audience and the presenter. One of the things I mentioned to my other presentation, presentation, is that I tell my attendees that I want you to just take one thing. I don't want you to take the whole entire presentation, apply it right then and there. You wanted to essentially just take one and just apply it to your and then slowly integrate it. Now it doesn't it doesn't have to be necessary for mine. It could be other great conference. I know some of my colleagues at my campus are presenting, so I'm excited to learn from them too. And so I want to take some of their tips and tricks for the students and apply it to my own library. So again, it doesn't have to be for my presentation in the end, but I do want you to at least take one thing from this conference. But in any case, I want you to please share one thing in the chat after you do your attendance form that you took from this presentation with the audience and the presenter. Okay, while you are doing that, I want to show you how can you reach me. It is at EduTecher on Twitter. I'm also on Instagram and on Pinterest. You also can reach me in my work email. I noticed that if I use my personal email, it does go to spam, and so I don't really see it for some reason. So that's okay. I will gladly to have you email me. On this QR code that you see, you should be linked to my website, edutecher.weebly.com. You are free to use any of the resources that I share in this website itself, and you can use that as a reference point. So again, it's always updated. It also has live links to the information itself, to the links I said, like example, a Mighty Girl, Donors Choose, etc. Okay, so I'm going to stop share the screen. And when I stop sharing the screen, I am going to read the chat to see if there's any information I'd love to share. Okay, so I'm going to go right here. So yes, it's find that artwork is a really good medium for many children. Sometimes I see children build off their artwork and write stories or labels. Awesome. Love using family projects like that. Yes, okay. And thank you to Auditing ISD for letting me present today. Thank you. I want to thank Auditing for being flexible while I'm having technical issues on my end for some reason or another. Okay, but thank you. If you have any question, please let me know. Oh, I love how Justin said, I love the idea of wrapping a book to introduce students to the new books outside the go-to books. Awesome. Oh, thank you for so much for your comment, and Denise. Awesome. All right, I give it back to you.
Yes, we want to thank you, Dr. Laus, for the the wealth of information that you shared with us today. We hope that we start seeing more diverse books in our libraries. And I know everyone has to hop on and I have to facilitate the 10 o'clock. So we hope we see you again later. Thank you, participants, for participating in the chat. And you have Dr. Laus's information. If you ever need anything, I know she'll get back with you, and we will see you guys later. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.